It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to the Travel and Cruise podcast. On this, the 23rd day of December. Wow. We're getting pretty close to Christmas, folks. Sorry about that. I coughed just before we went on the air. All right, so welcome aboard. Of course, today's show is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by Chillie Cruises. Several stories this morning. We've got quite a bit to cover here this morning. The lead story today is Carnival Ship Sold. Also this morning, we're going to discuss crew member overboard, new cruises from Azamara, St. Thomas raises fees, another Symphony of the Seas cruise change, AARP slashes Carnival gift card discount again, and Pride of America change out in Hawaii. That and lots more live here at 11 o'clock this morning. Today is National Pfeffernusse Day. Now that's, for those of you that don't know what Pfeffernusses are, it's a German spice cookie. It's very popular around the holidays. I like them. All right, this day in history, in 1923, the Centennial newspaper from Troy, New York, anonymously published a poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas. In 1944, at his children's insistence, Clement Moore steps forward as the author of this poem. He had written it on Christmas Eve in 1922 for his children. Since then, the poem has defined the world's idea of Santa Claus, his spirit, and even his reindeer. Of course, you guys all know what that poem is. So, I thought that was interesting. If you're listening via the podcast, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from, whether it's TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Pandora, Amazon Music, any of them. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and up pops the Fat Travel Guy. Anytime you're watching or listening via the podcast and want to jump over to the video feed, there's always a link in the description so you can do just that. All right, a couple things to go over. First, just a reminder, folks, if you're traveling to Europe, especially to the UK or Ireland, starting in 2025, you got to have that electronic travel authorization. You have to have it by I believe it's January the 8th, but you have to have it before you leave. So if you're taking like a cruise that's going to Southampton, you got to have it before the ship sails. If you're flying to London, like say the Heathrow, you have to have it before you board the airplane. This is not something to screw around with, folks. Get it. Pay the $13 or whatever it is. That's good for 2 years. Then you won't have to be bothered with it. If not, I'm telling you, if you go to the airport without having the travel authorization, they're not going to let you get on a plane. If you go to the cruise port to get on a ship that's going to England, they're not going to let you get on the boat. That's at least what the government's saying. So don't screw with it, guys. Just do it. It's a simple matter to do. All right. No show on Wednesday for Christmas Day. Taking Christmas Day off for the first time in years. On Friday, it looks like I will be joined by Brian Tejeda, the general manager of AT21 Tours in Roatan, Honduras. Had a story last week about the State Department raising the security level for a couple countries, one of them being Honduras. And this is a little pushback from at least the folks in Roatan saying, wait a minute, guys. The body of Honduras and Roatan are two different places. Roatan's an island offshore. It's much safer. It's much more secure than some of the places in Honduras. So we're going to talk to Brian about that and what the change is doing to his business. So, and it's a little pushback from him, and I don't blame him. I happen to know the area as well as I know it. I can agree wholeheartedly with their position on it. The island, Roatan, is totally different than mainland Honduras. All right, so to be entirely, well, let me do this first before we get to that. This would be Sylvia says Merry Christmas this was in Grand Cayman over the weekend. Mr. Bucket List is on the celebrity silhouette. Rochelle says Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to all. And she hopes that her adventures in the South Pacific, that we enjoyed her pictures, which of course we did. And so, again, I'd love to get her to come on the show one day. But she's just, I think she's afraid to do too. But anyway, we love Rochelle and what she's brought to us over several years now. And finally, Ricky Skaggs says Merry Christmas to everybody as well. Okay, so to be perfectly transparent on this is now a commercial, folks. I'll say that up front. And it's about my insurance provider. I've dealt with these folks now for 4 or 5 years. I dealt with Generali for a while before that, and then went with Allianz. Without travel insurance, you have to navigate every travel emergency on your own, and that can be very distracting to travel, whether it's missing a suitcase or a medical evacuation. With Allianz Travel, you have a dedicated team of travel and medical experts on your side. Now, the reason I am saying, and this is a commercial, folks, is I wanted to point out a major thing. Number one, by now you can assume that I represent Allianz. I represent it because I use it and because I highly recommend it. But here was the kind of cool thing. I had 2 customers over the weekend that I wrote policies, and they've asked me to price it out just for the cruise that they are taking and for the annual policy. Now, it's the cruise that both of these folks are on is a rather elongated cruise. It's 15 days. And it's the nice policy, not the cheapy policy, but it covers everything. It's $222 each. Okay? For a 15-day cruise. The annual policy, folks, for Allianz is $280. That's good for 12 months. That's good for how many ever trips you go on. That's what I use. $280 and I'm covered for the year. And you guys know how much I cruise sometimes. So it's easy peasy to do. Just call me. 434-258-9264. It takes 5 minutes. We go through, put it in the system, put the credit card information into Allianz and hit send, and it's done, and you're covered for a year. If you don't have the annual policy, I highly recommend it. If you're traveling and every time you travel, you're adding it on, it's probably getting expensive if you travel, more. If you travel twice a year, this can save you money. So just let me know. Allianz Insurance. Okay, that ends that portion of today's commercials. How's that for being transparent? Okay, I'll be back with today's news after a quick break from come on, tongue. A quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. All right, so the top story, folks, in the way of news today, I have to get down to it. There it is. We're talking about Carnival selling a ship. Oh, no. Resorts World Cruises, specializing in Asia and Middle East itineraries, has acquired its third ship, the 1,800-guest Star Scorpio, which will launch operations from Singapore in late March. Star Scorpio most recently sailed as Pacific Explorer for P&O Australia, and before that as Dawn Princess for Princess Cruises. Both are Carnival Corporation brands. The purchase of Star Scorpio followed Carnival Corporation's announcement in June that the P&O Australia brand would be dissolved and integrated into Carnival Cruise Line. P&O Australia operated a 3-ship fleet that included Pacific Explorer, Pacific Adventure, and Pacific Encounter. Pacific Adventure and Pacific Encounter are in the process of being transferred to Carnival Cruise Lines. Both ships will sail mainly in the South Pacific and will likely remain there. At the time of Carnival Corporation's announcement, industry watchers theorized that Pacific Explorer, built in 1997, would probably be scrapped. However, Resort World Cruises has announced the ship will undergo a $15 million refit in Singapore before entering the brand service. The ship's renovation will include restaurants, bars, and recreational spaces. Danish Pitali, 23, was on his third contract with Royal Caribbean when tragedy struck. The ambitious young man from Mauritius had always dreamed of working on cruise ships to secure a brighter future for himself and his family. The last week, while aboard Visions of the Seas en route to Baltimore, Danish went overboard. The incident occurred during the final days of a 12-night Southern Caribbean cruise as the ship sailed back to Baltimore. Visions of the Seas was immediately turned around and deployed rescue boats to search the area. Passengers on board shared updates and photos describing the somber atmosphere as the crew coordinated search efforts. The U.S. Coast Guard arrived on the scene about 8 p.m. that evening, permitted Visions of the Seas to continue its itinerary, and took over the search operations. So far, there has been no outcome. Azamara, a small ship destination-focused cruise line, has released their winter deployment for 2026-2027 that consists of 66 new cruises. These 66 new cruises from Azamara include 8 extraordinary grand voyages that span 35 nights or longer. The newly announced sailings visit 20 countries on 5 continents. The grand voyages span a variety of continents and destinations, including Canada to Australia, Australia to Japan, Canada to Japan, Buenos Aires to Miami, and lots more. They offer an in-depth exploration of each port so guests can immerse themselves in local culture. We have the equipment you need to stay mobile. Whether you need a wheelchair, scooter, power chair, rollator, oxygen, or other pieces of mobility equipment, Scootaround, powered by Will, can help. Once you've booked your rental, we can deliver it to wherever you need. For your mobility needs, contact me or call Scootaround at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates. Cruise guests traveling to St. Thomas may need to pay not 1, not 2, but 3 higher fees in 2025 in order to fund critical infrastructure projects requested by cruise lines. The new fares will begin on 2 separate dates, and which fees guests pay will depend on exactly where their ships dock. The largest fee increase in the port dues, which will increase from $6.84 per guest to $9.84 per guest. This $3 per person fee increase will help fund the Charlotte-Amalie Harbor dredging project, which is specifically requested by Disney, Norwegian, and Carnival. Dredging the harbor to a deeper depth will help accommodate larger ships and improve navigability. St. Croix is going up like $1.50 or something as one of the other increases. With the largest cruise pier in San Juan still unable to welcome an Oasis-class ship, we've now got confirmation of yet another Symphony of the Seas voyage dramatically altered from its originally planned itinerary. The impacted cruise is the January 12th departure, a 7-night Eastern Caribbean vacation from Miami. The ship was initially planned to visit Perfect Day at Coco Cay, San Juan, and St. Martin. Instead, Symphony of the Seas will be heading in the opposite direction, the same type of changes that have been made to multiple Eastern Caribbean sailings in the past few weeks. Wednesday, January 15th will now be a visit to Labadee, Haiti, rather than San Juan, 400 miles west of the original itinerary, on a different island and a different country. Following Labadee, Symphony will head to Jamaica, calling on Falmouth on Thursday, the day that had originally been scheduled for St. Martin. The last 2 days of the sailing are days at sea, the same as the original itinerary, with the ship returning to Miami on January the 19th. In early November, the news broke that AARP changed its discounted rate on Carnival gift cards from 10% to 8% off. As an example, this means a $100 gift card would now cost AARP members $92 instead of $90. But now, just over a month later, AARP has once again cut its Carnival discount, this time from 8% to 5%. So now, instead of saving $8 on that $100 gift card, members would only save $5. Norwegian Cruise Line's Pride of America has altered her Christmas cruise itinerary due to unsafe waves that made it impossible for the ship to dock in Maui for as long as originally planned. The ship, which offers 7-night inter-island Hawaii cruises, a round trip from Honolulu all year long, departed on her current sailing on December 21st. Guests were notified of the itinerary change once on board. Unfortunately, due to a winter swell phenomenon, creating large breaking waves and strong currents along all north and west-facing shores, making it unsafe to remain alongside, our scheduled visit to Kahului, Maui, on Sunday, December 2nd, has been canceled. Fortunately for guests, Pride of America was scheduled to have had an overnight visit to Kahului. While that is no longer possible, the ship will still visit the picturesque port on Monday from 8 to 6. Be on one of the first MSC ships to go to Alaska when we sail May 25th, 2026 on the MSC Poesia round trip from Seattle. 7 nights going to Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point, Juneau, and Tracy Arm Fjord, and a stop in Victoria, Canada on the way back to Seattle. Inside cabin start at $849 per person, balcony from $1289 per person. The MSC Poesia going to Alaska. Why not join us? I promise you we'll have a great time. Just call me, 434-258-9264. And we'll cruise with Chillie to Alaska. All right, that's going to end the news portion of today's show. I do have one other thing to report. Hot Air Tom arrived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I guess had to walk a couple blocks in 9-degree weather to pick up dinner last night. He walked a couple blocks in 9 degrees, probably wearing a pair of shorts, knowing Hot Air Tom, to get to the restaurant and discover he left his wallet and credit cards and cash back wherever the hell he was. So he had to walk back to get it and then come back to pick up the dinner and go back again. He has frostbite on 3 toes and his bald head. Just reporting the news. Okay, so let's go see who's in the chat room fussing at me today. Speaking of the devil, there's Hot Air Tom. Good morning, Hot Air Tom. Says hello to everyone. Sonny's with us, says happy Monday. There's Gary Older and Dirt. Roger's with us down in Jacksonville. Merry Christmas and happy Hanukkah. Hot Air says, just had the best. Wait a minute, where'd it go? Hot Air says we are headed to Shady Maple and Blue Ball, Pennsylvania for some Pennsylvania Dutch chicken pot pie and good donuts. Maybe a Christmas whoopie pie. Wow. Blue Ball, Pennsylvania. Gretchen says Blue Ball. Yeah, that's probably right next door to intercourse and ejaculation. I mean, they have strange names of towns up there. So, anyway. Hot Air says, actually, one trip in the cold was enough. I did not order and return to the Holiday Inn and just ordered a burger there that we split. It was a half burger, so we got quarter pounders. A half-pound burger. Okay, so he didn't walk back and forth. I made a good story, Hot Air. What can I say? Gretchen says, "You Pennsylvanians are a hoot." Yeah, that's the way they are. So that's actually going to wrap up the show for today, folks. Again, let me go. There's Joanne. Shady Maple is a huge place. They have Midnight Madness tonight. Oh, in Pennsylvania, we can mount Joy for intercourse. Excuse me? Mount Joy for intercourse and get blue balls in the cold. Okay. Hey, Tom, we were looking at flights from Spain to England, and the flight said self-transfer with the layover. What does self-transfer mean? I have no idea. Self-transfer. Oh, that would be for handicapped people that you don't have to have transfer assistance, I would assume. I don't know. So, anyway, Hot Air Tom says, no idea there, Kenneth. All right, guys. Again, that's going to wrap it up. Let me go over the schedule again. We've got no show Wednesday for Christmas. Hopefully, we'll have a guest from Honduras with me on Friday, which would be very nice. Next week, show on Monday will be normal. And on Wednesday, New Year's Day, be coming to you from the train if all goes well. So, and we have a signal and don't go through tunnels or whatever. So hopefully Wednesday, we'll be coming to you live from Amtrak, somewhere between Richmond and Miami. So, all right, guys. Before I leave, let me seriously say Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Happy Hanukkah if you're Jewish, and any other religion. Y'all have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy the day. I'll see everybody back here on Friday. Merry Christmas, everybody. See you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.